All right, so now, this next topic, we're going to get real about Giving Tuesday Now.
Hey, Spence, how you
doing?
You
guys ready?
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, I think we've got someone. Hold on.
Sean, we hear you.
Sean's on. Let me go mute Sean.
Yeah.
I am logged in on like 7 different computers.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But,
hold on.
So let me go log myself out.
I don't think I can mute him.
Yeah, I'm trying to. One sec.
But you know as well as I do.
Mute.
Hold on.
Oh, good.
I muted
that
Jay.
worked.
There you go.
Did that work? Okay.
Yes.
I muted Sean. We're good. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Although somehow we're still seeing his speaker, just his major screen. All right, so I'm going to have somebody else start talking. I'm going to start asking you ladies each some questions about, in fact, you know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to make him let me see if I can just cut him out so he's not a panelist anymore. Change to attendee. There we go.
There you go.
All right, Sean got the boot. All right, we're good. Jen, Julia, Nhu, how is everyone?
Hello.
Hi.
Doing okay. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you here. For people who don't follow Nhu on Instagram, she's apparently an amazing chef.
I like to cook.
I didn't know this about you so much until I started following all of this stuff. Your Newbie's Kitchen, it's like amazing. I'm jealous when I'm eating ramen and you're over here like cooking all this amazing food, and I'm like, oh, that looks so good.
It's a good hobby right now, especially.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet. All right, so we've got a new Giving Day coming up on the forefront, and I know you've all got some thoughts, some opinions, some recommendations on it. So let's get right into Giving Tuesday Now. I'd like to go around the horn and kind of do a gut check on where you guys are with this event, how Nhu, you're editor-in-chief at the Nonprofit Pro, so you see a lot of information coming in all the time that you guys are putting together and putting out. So I think you bring a great perspective. Julia, let's start with you. I know you are somehow involved in the event with Giving Tuesday. Let's talk about, what is it, what's the why behind it, and what's on your mind when it comes to Giving Tuesday Now, which is on May 5th.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm sort of, tangentially involved. I don't get paid by Giving Tuesday at all, but they want to spread the word about the new Giving Day, so they've been calling people that they know can reach nonprofits and talk authentically about it. So it's not going to replace Giving Tuesday on December 1st. That's probably the most important thing to know about it. And that the group of people at Giving Tuesday, they're a really small group of people, but they just saw the need spiraling, and they thought, why not leverage their networks and their media coverage and their cachet and their name to encourage nonprofits to talk to their donors and talk to their supporters on May 5th. So they just chose May 5th, I think, kind of out of the air. But what I wanted to do was have a day of global unity where we can all get together and talk about how we're giving back, whether that's money or time or effort, or maybe we're giving back to ourselves through mental health, taking care of mental health, taking care of our family. So however you're celebrating it. But what Giving Tuesday itself was never supposed to be about just strictly fundraising and catch as catch can, and it was never supposed to be transactional. So there's a lot of ways you can commemorate Giving Tuesday Now on the 5th and still take advantage and use the hashtag and, participate in the party, but you don't have to necessarily ask your donors for money if that's not something you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, awesome.
In the chat, if you want more information on it.
Yeah, and one of the questions, just to clarify, is not going to replace the Giving Tuesday that comes later in the year.
December 1st. Yeah, no.
Yes. Yeah, this is an additional. So it looks like, okay, now.givingtuesday.org is where you can go for information. Now, this is getting a little technical here, but is the hashtag still hashtag Giving Tuesday, or is it hashtag Giving Tuesday Now?
I think you can use both of them, but the May 5th event is hashtag Giving Tuesday Now.
Okay. And it's on Cinco de Mayo, so maybe there's some fun stuff that, to do with the theme of the day, I just put that together. All right, thank you, Julia, for the background on it. We'll come back to you to get some thoughts on it. Nhu, I'd like to pass over to you now. What are some of the trends that you are seeing around this Giving Day? What are people talking about right now?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, when nonprofits talk about it, they're kind of like, how do I message this? Because donors are probably shocked seeing Giving Tuesday happen in the middle of the year as opposed to at the end of the year. But it was created, like Julia said, as a way to raise emergency funds for the unprecedented need brought on by COVID-19. And I know it affects everybody, and nonprofits included. So for nonprofits that are on the fence about participating or are going to participate, I think the biggest thing is making sure you're connecting your mission to the need that goes around COVID-19. Maybe you're a nonprofit that provides support for the homeless, and as you know, they're very vulnerable right now because they're on the streets, they're unprotected, they are very vulnerable to getting the disease because they don't have anywhere to go. And the other part of it is the messaging and like what to say. How do I ask for money? And like Julia said, you can use it as a way to just communicate to your donors, to thank them for being your supporters and just like continuing that stewardship. And you don't, as nonprofits, we talk about engagement and cultivation and making sure that the relationships that you build with them aren't transactional. And at Nonprofit Pro, we're continuing to push that out to, I know it's a hard time, but be transparent with your supporters. They want to hear from you. They want to know what you're doing during this time. So completely going dark isn't going to help anyone. If anything, me and Julia were on a podcast earlier. Was it last week? I think it was last week.
Yeah.
And we talked about
last week, by the way, seems like an entire life.
I know. I was like, how long ago?
It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about, if you give up on fundraising and communication, then you're losing out on those relationships with your supporters, and then you're gonna have to start from square one, and that costs a lot more money, and it takes a lot more resources to do so. So just keep talking to them, check in with them. They want to hear from you, and if you're going to participate, tell them what you're doing. Be empathetic about the situation, and we understand that resources are tight right now, but if there's anything you can do to help, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's funny, we'll come up with like that was so February 2020, the time thing. That was so January. So last week. So Jen, what do you think? And I will say I'm gonna do a little bit of a catch up here for the next session. We're gonna take about just like a quick 3-minute break before we get into Noah. But Jen, what do you think? I think what Nhu of Julia said is lean into the fact that it's not necessarily should I do Giving Tuesday now, should I not do Tuesday now. Maybe it's about just how do you communicate on that day. What are your thoughts on this, Jen? How should organizations be thinking about this day?
I agree 100% with everything that Julia and Nhu said in particular. Is the going quiet is like not an option right now. I mean, honestly, no matter what you do, I think it's critically important for organizations to at least send out some messaging referencing, being a part of the Giving Tuesday Now. I think it's great. It's a great opportunity to just sort of force every nonprofit to sort of stop in the midst of the chaos I'm sure that most folks are feeling like they're in, and say, why am I here? What am I doing? What my mission is? It still, obviously the work I do is still critical. So how is it now in the sort of next, like this next normal that we keep, we're now going to call us just the next normal. We're going to do that. That's the thing. So kind of just take stock, take a moment, really just double down on your mission. Like if critical work you're doing, reemphasize the nature of why the work that you're doing is so important now more than ever. Even if you're not a food bank, you're not a healthcare worker, you're not on the front lines, you're maybe, again, like the conversation earlier, it's not even mental health. No matter what you're doing as an organization, it's really critical to just kind of help your supporters and donors reconnect with why they've been in touch with you before and why they care about your mission. Just reemphasize those messages again right now, and just find a space to open that conversation up again. So even if you're just simply putting out a simple message and saying, in the spirit of this, yes, like you don't maybe have bandwidth to do a whole lot more than that right now. It's okay. Just send out a simple message. It's totally fine. Let people know. Be communicative with your base and not just sort of leave them being like, gosh, I haven't heard from X organization that I really care about. It's really important to just sort of put at least a simple note out, let people know, come back to your core, who you are and what you're doing, why it's so critical. And then if you're really just, I don't have the bandwidth, there are, agencies, groups, consultants, we can help put a message out for you if you're just like, I literally don't even have the brain space for this, or I'm really strapped and challenged about how to message that right now. Ask any one of us on this call. We can all help kind of reposition or help you kind of think about the messaging and the language that's going to be sensitive in this time, and actually physically get in your tools, create a great looking message for you, and just get it out the door at the very least. So I wouldn't miss the opportunity to do some messaging and think about even just like a simple themed, maybe even just form or whatever. Just, we can come up with a very basic opportunity for you to sort of connect with your supporter base and potentially have the opportunity to get some donations coming in the door in a critical time for your organization.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Julia, Nhu, anything else you would add to that as kind of like a final tip?
Well, for me, I'm giving 3 free webinars on GivingTuesday Now specifically. And I just figured out the dates and the URL, and I don't have them like in my back pocket, but I will put it in the chat.
We'll make sure it gets shared out.
Yeah. So those are free. They're 1-hour webinars. There's 3 dates. And that's because we want to help you message through this, and we want to give you some ideas for ways that you can leverage it if you're not asking for money, and ways you can leverage it if you are asking for money, and ways that if you have a giving day, like I've been working with clients that have giving days in May, and they're going to kind of use it and position it to either launch their giving day, or there's a lot of ways you can do it. So my tip would be, don't stress out too much about it. It's supposed to be a resource for you. It's supposed to be it's not supposed to stress you out or put more on your plate. But if you do want to do a campaign, there are, like, go to the now.givingtuesday.org. There are entire toolkits with messaging already written that you can like adapt and cut and paste and just put your stuff, your own individual mission content in. So use the resources, like don't reinvent the wheel. Use the resources that are already out there right now.
Yeah. Nhu, you guys probably have some resources that are top of mind as well. Do you have anything that you would mention here?
Yeah, we have, for GivingTuesday Now, we have some content that has been pushed out through our website. And then we have another article coming out on what to do after GivingTuesday Now, which is to say thank you and make sure you're continuing to steward those donors to keep that relationship going. So, they come back and they become loyal to your brand. And as for tips, I'm echoing everything that everyone else has already said. It's been really good advice. And I think if you're going to participate in this, it's really important to be your raw, authentic self in the messaging, and just, it doesn't have to be so polished, but it has to be relatable, and it has to be true to your organization. And the other thing I would say in the messaging is to not, not talk about yourself. Don't put your need first. Be understanding of what's going on. Everyone's struggling. There's people who have lost jobs. There's businesses that have shut down, organizations that have shut down. So just be mindful of that. But, ask for whatever they can give.
Yeah, awesome. And we will, I put this into the chat to everybody. We'll put together in our follow-up for this that we'll send out to everyone who's registered when we send out the recordings. We'll share some links to Giving Tuesday webinars. Those with Julia. I also, if you want to just grab time with me on my calendar, it's open. Anybody on this call, grab 30 minutes with me, bring your messaging idea. We'll talk through it. No charge, just here to help. So I put my calendar link there. You can book time on my calendar if you'd like. All right. Well, hey, ladies, thank you. Really appreciate the tips here today. We've had some great questions coming into the chat. I'll look at those as Noah and Jay get into the next conversation. And we'll also bring those back around to today at the end of the day if we don't get to some of those. But really good questions and conversation coming in here into the chat and into our questions box. So Nhu, Julia, Jen, thank you so much for talking about this day. I think it's important. It's something that's probably exciting, but also potentially a stress factor for people right now. So just making sure people know that there's options here is, I think, the most important thing.
Yes,
for sure.
And you put in your links to your webinars. Awesome. Thanks, Julia.
Well, thanks for having me, Taylor, and nice talking to you, Julia and Jen. And
yes,
guys have an awesome day and good luck for the rest of the conference.